will say a word, Amanda. For people who don't know you, I would like to welcome you as a very important key member of the Heritage and Wellbeing group. And for people who don't know you, you are a retired GP, you are an artistic soul and well appreciated on the island. And as we are in the Wellbeing and Heritage group, heritage is also looking at the past. And I know that you are very interested in archaeology and what they tell about the past. So I just say, please tell to us, talk to us.
Right. Well, yes, as you know, I'm a retired general practitioner. I worked out here for about 11 years as a doctor. And during that time, I developed further my interest in archaeology. And I'm currently undertaking a big project looking at Neolithic chambered cairns, monumental cairns and settlements in the landscape. And it's the landscape that really inspired me to try and help and assist in this group meeting, because landscape has an identity and a feeling about it, which can be handed on to future generations. And it's us, people, you, me, everybody, who gives this identity to the landscape. And we need to be outside in the landscape and moving through it. So it's an important part of me and what I feel. And I've been part of this group of the Wellbeing Project, part of which is being outside and on walks, which is what we're going to talk about. So we've been involved in designing walks through the landscape and looking at place names. And moving through this landscape can also be by walk, but also can be undertaken by filming from drones. And James MacLetchie has been working on filming some new walks for us using his drone, and the films are fantastic. They're bilingual, both in Gaelic with an English version. And I believe we're going to have a clip shown now. And James, would you be able to play the clip and then show the map?
Now the other James.
Hi everyone. It's been so fantastic working on these virtual sort of kind of routes. The landscape is very important to me. It's been a major part of my life, but one of the great things about North Uist and that is all the archaeology that's way out in some of the remoter regions. And trying to find the accessibility for some people is quite difficult. So by creating the films, we allow that virtual journey towards those ancient sites, but also their connection to a world that we sometimes think we know a lot more about, but we discover new things on every time we go out there. But the scenery is so absorbing as well. So all of these walks are very beautiful in their own right, but they also bring a sense of contentment to everybody who goes out with the fantastic views around them, but also the discoveries of some of the more remote archaeological sites. So the walk that we've done here, the one film that we're going to have is Mullen and Guthan out to Barpan of Fianna. And this is a very beautiful walk out to about 2.5 miles. It takes about 1 hour, 20 minutes to complete. But all around this place is stunning scenery. This is a little online map that people can follow, track out their way out there and back if they want to use their mobile phones. And then we can go back into the film, which is also suitable for YouTube, and then downloading onto phone so they can follow it out directly.
Welcome to our Germel walk that takes you out to Barpan of Fianna. This walk is just over 2.5 miles and will take you approximately 1 hour and 20 minutes to complete. It is a beautiful walk out into the moorlands and along the shores of Gerran Mill. Along the way you may encounter wildlife or other small archaeological sites, but also take in the beautiful panoramic views. Your walk begins by crossing the road, and ahead of you see a small stream and a little cottage. Locally this is known as Mill Cottage. At one time there was an old mill here, dating back to the 1900s. At one time there were 3 mills in North Uist, but due to a lack of historical information or any documentation, we know little about them. Continue your walk out to the left-hand side, through the first gate and along the shores of the loch. Along the way you're going to see a small track that leads you up into the moorlands. Follow that track up to the second gate. On reaching the second gate, pass through it, close it and continue on your way towards Barpan. Ahead of you you'll see a small hillock about 300 yards away. Make your way to it, and once on the top, take a look around you, look behind you and take in the beautiful views. In the distance you'll see Arsavarran and Grainatoth, close by the small village of Avor, down towards Clachan Sands, the high hill of Pabby, and way in the distance the mountains of Harris. As you continue along the shore you'll see many small islands. Archaeologists tell us that there is evidence here of habitation at one time, probably as far back as 3500 BC. Continue on your walk, aiming towards the V between North and South Lee, and on reaching the next little summit, pause and take a look around. Take in the panorama of the loch. This truly is a beautiful place. Vast open moorland surrounded by water. You might hear the distant cry of the black-throated diver. Mill is also a famous fishing loch, and from the months of May, June, July, you might find many people out here fishing for trout, and from August, September, October, you will often see them out in the lochs fishing in a small boat with a local gillie in search of sea trout and salmon. As you head further on, you'll come to a small stream with a loch on the left-hand side. Cross that small stream, begin to climb, and watch and look in the skyline for signs of red deer, golden eagles, and sea eagles. Also in this area you may come across short-eared owls, hen harriers, and if you're lucky, the sight of a merlin passing swiftly by. Towards the right-hand side, watch the small bay and look out for an elusive otter. You are now getting near to the end of the bay, with one more small stream to cross before a gentle climb up to the long cairn and Barpan. The ground is firmer now, and with each step the horizon expands. Beyond you on a clear day you may see sky. In the distance you see the outline of the small town of Lochmaddy, North and South Lee, Burravel and Avil at 347 metres. But ahead of you lies the Long Cairn, or Barpan. The Long Cairn has always fascinated archaeologists, and through various excavations from 1902 to 1922 they have gathered information that gives them a better understanding to how people lived in this landscape. But you have finally made it. Sit down and enjoy the views. Have your picnic and look at Mill all the way down to Grainatoth before finally making your way back home to where it all began.
That was really, really lovely, and certainly such a film from a drone allows one and people who are unable to walk to enjoy that virtual environment, and it's stunningly beautiful, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of similar films. So then we were involved in looking at place names for people, and we were involved with working with the children in the local primary school, Skol Uist at Tuath, and we asked the children what made them happy about the area around their own homes and crofts or houses. And some of them took this very, very seriously, which was lovely. And they drew beautiful maps of the area around their houses, coloured them in different greens, and discussed what made them happy outside. And I think we're going to see some of the pictures soon. And they're lovely. They're beautiful, beautiful pictures, which have been collated and are being presented at the school, which is lovely. Which is very nice. So it was of note that some of the favourite occupations of the children were playing with their dogs outside, again outside, visiting grandparents, and one grandfather had built a small shed for his grandson next to his own shed, which is lovely. And for girls, interestingly, their favourite occupation appeared to be playing with their dolls indoors, and for boys, playing football outside was on the football pitch on Saturday was the highlight of their agenda. And the parents of boys are very much to be commended for bringing them from all over the island and Burnley at weekends to do this. So again, being outside. So moving on a little bit from that, place names are really a part of everyday life, and they're used orally and by written word in the media, on road signs and on maps. And there's a rich tradition here on North Uist of naming inland valleys, slopes, fields, moors, rivers and inlets and hills in Gaelic, the words which are not necessarily on maps. And it is of great concern that this knowledge may be easily lost, because the place name designates an identified location and reflects the culture and history of that area, and stresses the individuality of the people who named it. And so we asked the children to name areas around their crofts and houses. And some did, and some people then went on to record place names, which might otherwise be forgotten, from on their phones, from neighbours or relatives. So as well as this, which we'd like to expand, we also undertook 2 seasons of Gaelic walks to sites of significant heritage and archaeological interest. And the walks were accompanied by paper handouts describing the archaeology and the history of the areas and sites visited. So I'd like now to introduce you to Archie Campbell, our Gaelic walk leader, to say a few words about these. Would you like to, please, Archie?
Thank you very much, Amanda. More than thank. I went out for at least 5 or 6 walks over the summer with various groups, and as you said yourselves, we're blessed with all the sites that we have in North Uist from all eras of archaeology and medieval history and everything. I think the benefits were numerous, for the people who were able to take part in the walks. Obviously, there was so much knowledge, I think, being shared between people. I would admit quite freely to gaps in my knowledge about at least some of the sites. Some of them I was more aware of than others, but I was very grateful for the contribution made by people like Donny Johnson with his local knowledge of the site, and even kind of wee stories from his own kind of youth as well. It just gave it a real sort of sense of colour and just brought everything to life as well. And other times we might have heard a different story from the one which we were more accustomed to, like in Campbell and Trianach as well. So I think it was really good on a sort of social level as well. People were just just so nice to get out and walk together. And like you said yourself, Amanda, that you've got to walk the landscape to appreciate it. But I think the kind of social element was really very pleasing as well, that people met together and made some time for themselves as well, and met people maybe who were home on holiday, old friends and stuff. Again, people who made their homes here came as well. I think one thing I would say, maybe there weren't as many people who were actually raised here who were able to come. I think it's a matter of people being so busy. It was in the kind of peak summer season time, and people are busy, with a bed and breakfast and all the other things they're doing. But those who did come really really enjoyed it anyway. And the Gaelic was given a very a prominent place in the you know, the actual walk itself. It was the actual talks were given in Gaelic, with the very helpful sheet which you gave us in English as well. And I think that really made people feel that they were being included. You know, they weren't being pushed away by the fact that they didn't have Gaelic themselves. And I think even those who didn't have Gaelic quite enjoyed just listening, you know, to Gaelic being spoken in the conduct of the visit to the site. Other things, you know, it's quite a big job to organise these walks. Mary and I had to visit the site beforehand, so it's not just the walk itself on the day, but you've got to do a full risk assessment as well, which takes up some time. That said, I did enjoy that as well, so it was kind of part of the experience for me. You know, just going out, walking together, maybe with Mary or other folk who wanted to come as well. So, you know, we sort of got 2 walks for one, which was quite nice. I think I took Mary on some kind of odd routes occasionally. I think I took a bit of a diversion near Poppleheen, which I think she enjoyed greatly anyway. But
Archie had to lift me out of the brack,
that was
the heather.
quite
when
an
I got
quite a
stuck.
sight, anyway. But I think
Right.
it was really enjoyable anyway. And there's a photo of us all actually up on the hill, and I have it on my screen at home. And I just kind of feel happy when I see it, because everyone just looks so happy. They're out on the hill together. There's a lovely view in the background, and people are all smiling. You know, I think that's lovely anyway. There's Donny Johnson again. Donny and his daughter and 2 grandchildren are all out there together. You know, and it's just a nice vista and a nice event, I think. So again, like I said earlier on today, we had a Gaelic cafes, which I thought were really worthwhile and worth doing more of if possible. And I would be very happy to do more of these walks, these bilingual walks. So it was something that we can maybe, you know, take up as we go forward, and maybe perhaps run some in October, possibly, you know, where people maybe aren't quite so busy with all the other things that, you know, take up the time in making a living. So anyway, yes, I think anyway, kind of win-win. I think with the walks for what people learnt and just the experience of being out there together, and that kind of camaraderie, I think, which you get, you know, when you're out there. Yeah.
That's really, really important. And just looking and hearing what people have to say about different places as you're walking. And that is part of what I was going to encourage people, hopefully, that they do. Very briefly, a similar project collecting place names on Barra in 1999 found that only 20% of the place names collected were actually mapped on historical documents, and the rest, the 80% which they collected, had never been written down anywhere. And so they collected them, and they can be passed down to future generations, which would be very nice if we could do this. So if you have ideas about place names and want to give that, please send that to us, and we will save it and pass it on to Comann Estuary. So big thank you to James and Archie for all that magnificent work, and to Mary for encouraging us all. Thank you very much.
Thank you much.
And thank you, Amanda, for snacking and holding that bit of the afternoon.